Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday morning to everybody. It's us again returning with another episode of Conversation with the Guys. And today, this is actually our final episode of the year. We have a topic that is very controversial, but guess what? We're going to tackle it with diplomat and just really just pour in and give some valuable information and help individuals who are going to listen, then pour into you guys and just as usual, we have some regular faces, but we also have a new face. And first of all, Mr. U, I would like for you to come in and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
You muted.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. You guys, thank you so much for having me this morning. I'm so excited, so ecstatic to be joining you guys today on this panel, discussing a topic that I feel is so necessary. Derek, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the warm welcome. A little bit about myself. My name is Rodriguez Underwood, better known as Mr. U. I have a 25-year background in the fashion community, the fashion industry, doing so many amazing things from photography, fashion show production, working with other influencers and celebrities, just working with models, working with people in the industry, just being published so many times. I'm really just humbled and excited that God has kept me and turned my career to a way where it can be such an influence, inspiration to so many others. Along my career, I've been able to also as well produce a lot of men empowerment events, do a lot of youth empowerment events, speak on some really amazing stages, telling my story about how I aged out of foster care and how I used that pain and turn into purpose to be able to inspire not only my peers, but other individuals that's in that realm or in that world that can relate to being in the foster care system, whether it be the workers, the CASA workers, the children, and also the foster parents. So that is what I'm really passionate about. I'm honored to be able to meet Derek in that same capacity where we was sharing the stage with Feed the Grove, where actually we was, pouring into the youth and just continuing to just be that beacon of light to help them sometimes shift their mindset and become successful individuals. So thank you guys again for everything that you're doing in the community. And I'm so elated to be a part of that movement. And I just pray to God that he continues to use me and allow his will to be done through me. So thank you again, Derek. Thank you guys on this platform. I'm so excited to jump right into this topic.
That was awesome. And we also have the regular faces like Dr. Levette. If you would, Dr. Levette, introduce yourself.
Hey, great. First of all, great morning to each and every one of you. Also, welcome, Mr. U. I'm glad to have you with us and sharing in the platform. And hey, just be yourself and do what you do, man. We always jive good. When Derek first came on, we jive right with him right away. So we looking forward to that. But I'm fat. Of course, I'm 32-year retired Army. I'm married to the lovely Tony Levette. We have 4 kids, 3 girls, 1 boy, older kids, and we have 10 grandchildren and 1 on the way. One of the things I've loved over the years is I've spent a lot of time. I even worked with Deacon Dan. We worked through Operation Save Our Son, did a lot of work with that, with at-risk youth boys and things like that. So those things have help us to be able to instill some discipline in them, instill some positive, good and godly examples for them, and because of that, I'm so elated that Coach Deborah started this platform so we can now expand that knowledge and expand what we know and what we've experienced into something that's better. So I love what I do. Currently, I'm a chaplain. I'm a chaplain at one of the local hospitals here. I love doing that work every day, going to the patient's bedside and being there for them and their families during critical moments. And doing through that, sometime I get to meet a lot of young men too and get to talk to them. So I'm glad to be here as always today, and I look forward to our time together.
Awesome, awesome. And not none but not least, Deacon Dan, my pops. Introduce yourself.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. First of all, welcome, Mr. Yu. Very impressed with your introduction. So glad to have you on here this morning. My name is Dan Smith Jr. I'm married to the lovely Coach Deborah D. Smith. We have 4 kids, the opposite of Dr. Levette. We have 3 boys and 1 girl, along with 7 grands. I'm retired law enforcement after 40 years of service, and now I'm have my own businesses, two different type of business. I have a handyman service and a lawn service, which is really taking off. So I just give all the praise to God. I'm glad to be here, and my son is I just adopted my son, and Derek. He, young men. I just take, if I take on to him, then I let them know, hey, you my son, and I do respect them. I love them. And anything I could do for them, I'm gonna do it. So I'm looking for a great morning this morning.
Yes, sir. I mean, I am honored every month when I'm on to be able to be on this podcast with every one of y'all, even if it's Ricardo Miller, my mentor, Deborah, when she has to step in and just really take over the reins. But my God, Mr. U, we met, we really grew close, a bond. Deacon Dan, you have always been like a mentor to me. Dr. Levette, when you do pour in, you pour in with some powerful stuff. I just really appreciate each and every one of y'all. And I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Derek Durden, who I am the monthly host, but also I'm a motivational speaker, coach, and mentor. And so I really pour into the youth, and I just really just try to uplift, inspire, and try to show them uh, that there's other alternatives to making bad decisions. There's other ways to really uplift and change your life and go on the path that you need to without making those same mistakes that I've made. And so the topic today is inappropriate behavior for men. And when I think about that, it's to me, it's kind of like a tough subject. You kind of be careful of what you say when we talk about some of the topics that we're going to talk about. But let's dive right into it. Older generations back in the day, men used to really sit down and talk to their sons and pour into them. But today's time, that aspect, that viewpoint has kind of changed. Men are not really pointing to their sons like they used to. That is not for every man, but it seems like that's the majority. So, Deacon Dan, if you would, since you got a little experience at being a man pointing to their son, give us your viewpoints on why it's not like it used to be and what we can do to kind of change that and get back on track.
Well, there's a time when I guess time is a factor. I don't know why our life situation has changed a whole lot. Whereas you had time to father your son, had time to spend time with your son. But in today's situations, it's less time that you have to spend with the son. We as fathers, we are busy trying to make sure our families are taken care of. But we somewhere in the point we're gonna have to slow down in order to start back talking to our young men. I always talk to my sons. I know I have 5 granddaughters and 2 grandsons. So I always tell them, my youngest son, he's in law enforcement too. Hey, you got to sit down and take your time and talk to your son. Because if you don't, he's gonna probably be disrespectful to a lot of people. But I was looking at this question and about this behavior, and Terminal behavior. I said I had to look that up. And it was a harmful behavior that can negatively impact other situations. So I mean, this is what we got to talk to our young people about. And I do it at the church. I talk to the young men at the church. I mean, from the youth to the children to the young adults. I have opportunity to always talk with them. And they got a situation they come talk with. But we got to get back to, I don't know how we're going to do it, but I'm sure there's some way we can't find to do it. It's talking and, encouraging our young men on their behavior. So we can have, get that structure back. So if we don't get that structure back, the way this world is going today, there's a lot of young men that out there is going in the wrong direction. I'm so glad we have these two young men here today. They're here to help turn that situation around. So yeah, causing that's that behavior, we got to get it back. It's not as it's not as strong as it used to be, which is a lot of things not as strong as it used to be. So I'm gonna leave it at that point.
Okay. You said time is a big factor. And I agree because life is moving at a very fast pace, especially compared to how it used to. So, Mr. Yu, tell us a little bit about your perspective on how in older days men used to sit down and talk to their son, but in today's time it's not really happening. What are your views on that one?
Oh man, I love that question and great answer, Doc. I was really dialed in and just internalizing your response. From my perspective of growing up in foster care, I didn't have my dad to really sit down with me and pour into me and with certain aspects. So I know it's by the move of God, it's by the grace of God that I have been able to adapt that mentality where I want to get out in the community. I'm excited to get out in the community. I'm conscious of my influence. I'm conscious of my power. I'm intentional with the things that I do, right? So I know for a fact by me being out in the element and going the journey that I've God laid out for me, the story God built out for me, it takes community, right? It doesn't take just one in particular man sitting his son down, because you can sit your son down and you can have these conversations, but guess what? Your son is going to go out in the community and be his own person when you're not around. You're not going to always be able to be over your son, protecting him or guiding him. Like, yeah, your words can be with him, but he's going to go out in the community and be influenced by friends, be influenced by music, be influenced by TV, all of these things. But one of the things that I found to work, it does take community. It takes guys like us. It takes guys like myself and Derek being vulnerable and meeting these kids where they are. And sometimes that's not in their home. That's out in the community. That's at their school. That's at their recreational center. That's at an event or something. You know what I'm saying? It takes community. It takes empowerment. It takes us being excited and exerting that energy to these kids, because that's what it takes. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to meet them where they are. And then sometimes that's not always pretty. That's not always in a suit. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes kids look at a guy that's coming to speak to them in a suit. They looking at you in a 30 figure and they not even really, you're not connecting with them, right? So sometimes you got to look like them. You got to be that influence. You got to be this, celebrity or this public figure image to hold their attention and for them to embody what you're saying to them. So just from my perspective, like I said, growing up in foster care, it wasn't my father, but it was other men. It was in the children homes. It was the other staff workers that acted as my father, my mentor, my coach, that poured into me, that believed in me, that helped shift my mindset. Right. So all of that allowed me to understand, like, look, that's what it takes, and this is for my good. For a long time, I thought that system was to hurt me because they came and took me out of the home with my parents and my mom. So it was like, I didn't realize it at first as a child, because I thought as a child, but now as a man, I realized, like, hey, those things were to help me. And I thank God for my story. I thank God for my journey now, because it gave me a mindset of compassion and grace and understanding of so many different metrics of this life, right? And being able to meet people where they at and being able to connect with them and pour into them where it sticks. So when they are not around, they remember Mr. U. They remember Derek Dirty. Oh my God, the situation came up, and I remember what Derek said. So I'm not gonna go over there and run with that wrong crowd. I'm not gonna go over there and make these decisions that's gonna affect my future now, right? So I just take my hat off to everybody that's stepping up to the plate and being community. Everybody that's being involved. Everybody that's doing their little part, right? If everybody do their little part, we can make major impact. Again, thank you guys so much for having me on here. I'm looking forward to just really dialing in with this. This is the good stuff.
All right. I mean, what I do see is passion behind what you're saying. You're really pouring in from your heart. You're telling your story, but making a difference with it. And so, Dr.
Absolutely.
Levette, you from the old school, as they would say. What's the difference from back in the day when they were pouring into their sons and sitting down and talking to them compared to now when it's not such, like a relevant thing now?
Well, I'm gonna just say I'm gonna basically just expand off of what Deacon Dan and Mr. U just said. Now, a lot of it is because a lot of that change is because a lot of fathers are absent, either absent from the home or they're not engaged. Now, many years ago, even when in my era, and then in Deacon Dan's era growing up, even a lot of times if your father wasn't in the home, they were engaged in your life. They would come pick you up and they find out what's going on with you. If you cutting up in school, they deal with you. They get you back on track. And then they check throughout the week with that mother on, hey, how's he doing? Is he doing better? Is he still cutting up? Do I need to get a hold of him again? Then another thing that's very much missing is back in the day, if you cut up too much or your behavior got too bad in school, what did your father do? You come in and live with me. That's the way we dealt with it back then. It was dealt with like that. You're coming with me because you can obviously you're not listening to your mom. You acting out in school. So I'm gonna put the tight reins on you. So you coming to stay with me, and that right there deterred a lot of what we see today. Nowadays, we got a lot of men. They so involved in their life and what they got going on. They don't want to bring that son in there that's acting up. They don't want to bring them in their home and mess up their life and what they got going on. So that's where a lot of it is lost, was that being absent. Fathers that was absent, fathers that was not engaged, and now here we are. We in now a culture now to where a lot of the men, they still not involved. They don't even pay child support no more, hardly, a lot of them. So they not involved. So that's what happened. So it go back to what Mr. U was saying. You gotta find that mentor, somebody that can stand in there and help be a guide for them. We've talked about that several times throughout this year. We've talked about how mentorship is very important from that coach or that neighbor, that school teacher, that uncle, that church member, that deacon, that preacher, whoever. But it's got to be somebody that can step in and fill that role.
Yeah, very powerful. But guys, we got to switch it up a little bit. We got to go to a very touchy, sensitive topic, because the next topic is about domestic violence, which is real prevalent in today's society. You see men who put their hands on women and even go as far as taking the women's life. In my eyes, there's really not a reason to really go that far. It's not a reason to really put your hands on a woman, because if you got to put your hands on a woman, she's probably not your woman anyway. And so it just goes to the point of just really, I think it boils back down to leadership. But Dr. Levette, I know you just got through talking, but I want you to get in your groove. what is your perspective on is it and is it okay to put your hands on a woman at any time?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's never the right moment. Now, I will say there is only one condition I would say that you might have to, and that's only if you're defending yourself from some form of a severe danger. If you're in some type of severe danger, you got to in order to save your life. But there is no need for you to put your hands on a woman to make her do what you want her to do, or go where you want her to go, and whatever it is, and be like you want her to be. There's no reason under the sun that a man should put his hands on a woman. A man who puts his hands on a woman is we always call them weak. You weak. You weak. If you want to fight, go find you a man to fight. You want to put your hands on somebody, go find you another man to because the story usually get a little different. But I mean, it's never okay. I was taught growing up, if even if the woman provoke you, because y'all, let's be real here. Women can provoke you sometimes. They could provoke you to do that. But like Derek said too, that's probably not the woman for you. If they put you in that position and provoke you, and sometimes when men already have certain anger issues, that just intensifies that situation. So I say, if before you have to put your hands on her, walk away. That's the way I was taught. Walk away. It's better to walk away and live to see another day. Because if not, you're gonna do something to her, hurt her. You're gonna be in jail. So yeah, you gotta. It's never. The bottom line, it's never okay to put your hands on a woman unless you in just some type of danger that you can't see no other way out.
I totally agree with you because you don't want to walk away or end up with some handcuffs on your wrist because at the end of the day, you don't beat on the woman, you in jail, and the next time you know she was somebody else anyway. So
Absolutely.
what's the point?
Right.
So Deacon Dan, if you would please give your viewpoint on when is it and if it's okay to put your hands on a woman.
Well, here I go. You taking me back. These years in law enforcement, no, you can't put your hands on no woman. I mean, like I say, only life or death situations that you might have to do that. Putting your hands on a woman, they're gonna, as the vet says, but I call them, they ain't nothing but a pump, weak man. And then I'll get right in their face. Okay, if you want to hit somebody, hit me.
Mm-hmm.
I stand and hit me. Me and you equal. Male to male, not male to female. If a female is the weaker sex ours. Female came from our ribs as God made them. Keep reminding them that. No, don't put your hands on a woman. I'm 71 years old. Have I ever put my hand on a woman? No. And I don't never plan to. Now, if I'm gonna take a hand, I take a hand to caress her or hold her, something like that. Different story. But putting my hands on her just because she done made me mad, and then I like you said, like she can't provoke. Because I had a older gentleman, and I just sit there and watch. He kept telling the lady, I guess this guy was probably in his 60s, and it looked like they had left the club. I wasn't sure, but they were standing in front of it. And he kept saying, leave me alone now, leave me alone now, leave me alone now, leave me alone now. And next thing I know, he turned around, bam, he hit her. Well, I told him I had to roll up to him. I said, hey, man, you did a good job. You took it for a long time. But as I say, you didn't walk away. So guess where you got to go? You got to go with me. There's cuff going on him. He's going with me. Because he couldn't walk away. And then, like I said, I know you got a little alcohol in you. I smell it. So is that the cause? No. You should not put your hands on a woman. A woman God sent a woman to us to be our helpmate. One that we should love and cherish and care for, not to hit on.
Yes, sir. That was a word right there. So, Mr. You younger. They got those old school values.
Right.
Maybe your perspective is a little different. When is it, and is it okay to put your hand on a woman?
Oh man, it's crazy that we even have this topic. I mean, I just feel like, you know, it's never okay. And it's never a time. You're right. And I love their old school values. And I think that's where the power is when you can take younger and older and realize that we need each other. But I think from my experience of being in relationships, I have experienced domestic violence as a survivor, right? And the woman was, a narcissist, and she was just she just loved seeing me off my pivot foot. Like she loved to see me flustered, and I had to do a lot of learning. I had to do a lot of research and finding out what that was, because at that point I had never dealt with it before. So I had to be able to identify what I was dealing with. And I think that pretty much goes across the board when it comes to dating, being in relationships, or considering someone for marriage. It's just that you have to be able to dial in and understand, or try to understand, what it is that you're getting yourself into or dealing with. And sometimes that is having the hard conversations or asking those hard questions that, somebody might not want to be asked, or you might not want to, somebody might not want to answer, but those are the things it takes. We talked earlier about just, parents being in the home. I know we kind of dialed it down and said fathers, but it goes across the board to parents being in the home, because a lot of times these young girls are not growing up with fathers or mothers teaching them correctly morals on how to treat a man, how to talk to a man, how to respect a man, right? So they grow up with these lack of morals, and they out here in society making decisions that's drastic for themselves and for that man. And by us men being more physical beings, sometimes that's how we result to things. We lose control and we raise our hand, and before we know it, out of reflex, or sometimes maybe instinct of just seeing it, growing up in the house and seeing your father do it or seeing another man do it, out of reflex, that's your go-to, right? But I'm here to tell you it's never okay, right? And I know for a fact, by me being an influencer and a powerful person, and walking into my purpose, I know as a man, take your power back. And that's by walking away. I know it's hard. I know it's easier probably said than done. But we're talking about building self-awareness. We're talking about moving with intention, knowing this woman, knowing the situation that you're getting yourself into. As the man, 9 out of 10, most times we're responsible. It don't even matter which way it goes. They still gonna look at us. The blame still gonna be on us, no matter what. Right? So we just have to be conscious of these things and just move with intention, because you don't want to get yourself in a situation that is hard to get out of. And that's easy for us men, especially us black men, right? So we just have to continue to be conscious, continue to be just aware, self-aware, and continue to get ourselves around other men that can continue to pour in us in this manner. So again, that's an awesome question, but I don't think it's ever right or appropriate to put your hands on a woman. There's been some times I might want to shake one, like, understand, because of, sometimes they do get out of line. Sometimes they do get beside themselves, and women need to realize they have that power to uplift or tear down a man with their words. And some of them know that, but they still choose to do it because of their emotions or their lack of moral or whatever. But, as men, we just got to be more self-aware and more control of our emotions and our actions as well.
For sure, for sure. Deacon Dan, we got to change it up a little bit. We got to change the subject. In today's time, there's a big conversation about men and women going 50-50 on the bills. So I know you got more of a more mature aspect of it. These conversations wasn't going on back in your time, but it's relevant now. So what is your perspective about a man sitting back and letting a woman take control financially of the household?
Well, I always brought up, I'm gonna go back to what about them. That's my helpmate. Now, actually, really, it says the man, you know, I hear a lot of preachers talk and teach. The man is supposed to take over the household, you know. And in our today's society, if you got two working members, there's nothing wrong with sharing household expense, because things are very expensive today compared to what they used to be, and they're continually going up. So if you got two incomes coming in there, there's nothing wrong with going, I don't want to say 50-50, but working together and you know, taking care of your financial obligations. If you know that's something I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that, because you know, you got a lot of situations, you got a lot of families. I know that the woman make more, the wife make more than the husband. So, you know, they work together and they finance, you know, you finance together. Now, you don't count down. I give you an example. Me and my wife, we don't count down to the penny. If she said, well, honey, I'm going to take this. Fine. I'm taking everything else. She has some money. She's saving her money. And something comes up. She said, yeah, here. You can take care of this now. And, you know, that's really shows me that she really cares about our financial situation or how our finances are handled, where she's able to help. And you never deny a woman. Never deny her, because I know some guys that, man, I can't get any money from my wife. I don't want my wife working. Okay, that's, you know, that's you. If you're making exceedingly a large salary, way over, you know, high six-figure digit, that's fine if you can handle it. But at some point in time, you know, something might go a little bit wrong. You might have to have additional funds that you don't have to go in your 401k or anything like that. And the wife steps in and say, okay, I'm gonna help. I got it. Don't worry about it. You know, you can appreciate that. You know? So I have no problem with that. And you know, I see some men have a problem with that. And I see them struggling sometimes. You know, if you know, I done said if your wife has been to college and got a master's degree, a doctorate degree, but you want her to sit down. I mean, she done got all this education, and so with all this education that she had, why don't you allow her to, you know, exploit it, go out to work, find herself? Because one thing I do know, we both ain't gonna live forever. But then again, you go back and say, well, you know, you're supposed to save, or you're supposed to put away to be able to, this one leave, the other leave, take care of them. But you know, a lot of times they say, well, the man would take care of all of this. If he hadn't really put up aside financially to be able to, so his wife, if he left this world, God take him out of the world, if he left enough so she can be able to take care of herself and still have the same lifestyle, that's great. But some of it don't.
Okay. Now, Mr. Yu, we live in a society where women are talking about how independent they are. They don't need a man for this. They don't need a man for that. What is your idea? What is your perspective on a man sitting back and letting a woman financially take care of the household?
Oh man, that's a great question. It's, you know, you put that sit back part in there. That's a tough one because, and let me say this first. The first gentleman that spoke, I mean, it kind of enlightened me to hear an older gentleman with that perspective. You know what I'm saying? Because I think us, the younger generation, we really feeling that, right? Because the economy is different. Things are just different than the way they were back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Things are just more expensive. And, you know, for a woman to expect a man to like lug everything on his back and not expect help sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I mean, anybody feels that. Like the load gets heavy, right? Or you might need a break sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Or you might, and the fact that what he said, like women are our helpmate, right? You're supposed to be able to help us in the time we need her. Sometimes, even when we don't need the help, be by our side and be able to, sometimes be equally yoked with us. You know what I'm saying? And you just, and I think just the misperception is, you look at things that's put out in the media, you look at all this music, and you look at the stuff they putting on TV, and you look around, and these people trying to live this stuff. They try to live these movies. They trying to live what this music is talking about, and sometimes that just don't. That's really just not reality, right? So just being able to understand what works for you in your marriage. I think a lot of people lose out on a calling, or they lose out on a mate, or they lose out on a partner because they're trying to satisfy somebody else's or live up to somebody else's expectations that's not even in their relationship, right? What goes on in your home and how you guys are managing your home and your well-being. You guys are sitting down and you're arranging these things depending on your lifestyle. My friend said, sometimes the woman does make more than the man, right? I've been in that situation. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, so I've had my fast seasons. I've had my slow seasons. I've had my seasons where I didn't make that much, right? But to have that backbone, or to have that helpmate that was able to, help me in the time of need, but so I still picked up the slack where I could, or I may, do a couple of extra things, to help her out, or do some little extra chores around the house to like take the load off. It's like sitting back, that's not an option. You still should, be enthused about, doing your part or doing what you can. Everything doesn't have to be finances or financial all the time. Like, that sensitive thing has broken so many homes and so many relationships, being financial. But, just continue to grow and learn ways to make more money, or being creative, or starting that business, or seeing a bigger picture with things that you can do to, help each other make more money, to make those ends meet. I think that's what being partners and being helpmates is about, submitting to each other, right? And being able to meet each other where you all are at. Because, sometimes unexpected things come up. You got to put your money over here, or you got to go ahead and pay that emergency and things of that nature. So, it's all about what works for your household. But, sitting back shouldn't be an option. You got to stay on your toes and be willing to be that partner and pour into each other. So, great question.
Dr. Levette, I see you sitting on the edge of your seat right now. I'm gonna let you go ahead and go in a minute. But we had Deacon Dan with a more old school approach. But it's crazy because that 50-50 is really not looked at as an old school approach. It's looked at as, like, back then it was looked at like the man take care of the household as far as financially, and the woman take care of the household as far as inside the house. That was a unique perspective. I felt like that was coming from him. That was very unique. Then we have Mr. U with a younger perspective. But what we need for you to do, Dr. Levette, is bridge that gap.
Okay. So a lot of times when we start talking about finances, it's a sticky subject. It's one of the leading causes of divorce in this country. One of the top 3, matter of fact, is financial instability, or the lack thereof. So a lot of times what happens is, if you take some of the old school and blend it with the new school, you can make it work. What I mean by that, back then, you had, most of the time, the responsibility was always on the man, and it still should be. I still think the primary responsibility of financial stability in the home should be on the man. And that's just, I think, and like I said, it's just the primary responsibility. However, in today's world, that's not always feasible. Besides, we have more intelligent, more smarter, and more ambitious women in today's society. They want their own. It go back to what Deacon Dan said. They go and get their degrees and all this stuff now. Back then, women weren't really getting a lot of degrees. They might get up to their bachelor's degree. But now you got women getting masters and doctorates, and I'm proud of that. I'm glad that a lot of women is doing that, because it it sets that tone for them to be an equal partner as they want to be in their relationship, how to be that equal in the relationship. It's nothing wrong with us putting our money together and making it do what it do. A lot of failures that happen is because you got one person, they money over here, and the other one money over here. One person thinking they took care of this, and the other person think they took care of it. And that's what ends up happening. Sometimes the woman might think, hey, he took care of all the bills. And he's saying, well, no, you were supposed to pay the phone bill, the light bill, and the water bill. And when you don't have that, you don't have good communication too. I'm going to say this real quickly so we can move on. But one of the things, me and my wife has, we kind of mastered it over our many years of marriage. We mastered that. We put all of our money in one pot. We sit down, we talk every 2 weeks, we talk about our bills, what we got going out, what we got coming in, where we at. We never run into no issues. Now, another thing is, I don't go behind my wife and see what she spends. She spend what she want to spend because she makes good money too. But we learn how to be disciplined in our spending. And a lot of times, if you just get disciplined in spending, you won't run into the problems. So it takes a lot of discipline, whether you put your money together or you keep your money separated. But you gotta take a little bit of the old and blend it with that new, and it'll work for you.
You muted, Deb.
Before we go any further, I'd like to shout out to Maria and Ken who's watching, and also Sean. Thank y'all for y'all continued support of the Build Your Best Life platform. And so our next topic is another very, very touchy one because it's very prominent in society. We have individuals like Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Weinstein, who fell victim, and even here recently, Sean Diddy Combs, who fell, victim to this situation. And so I just want to ask this question. Sometimes females can lead you on, or they can say yes and change their mind in the process of intercourse or interaction intimately. Is it okay, Deacon Dan, to push forward once you get into that situation and then the woman changes her mind to maybe she don't want to go that far anymore? Is it okay to continue to push forward, or should you just stop?
No, I'm gonna be honest. You stop. Why are you gonna push forward when she says stop? STOP. Stop. Stop taking out people. Stop. You got to stop. You don't push forward because your next thing you push forward, you're gonna do one or two things. If she don't care nothing about you, she gonna holler rape. You going to jail for a long time. And then if say that's my fault, then still, it's not really her fault because she started it, she aggravated it. But no, if she said no, that's it. No. Period. Don't try to push it no further. Don't try to go no further. That's all. I ain't no whole lot I'm gonna say on that. If she say no, no. No mean no. Stop means stop. That's it.
For sure. Dr. Levette, we live in a society where it's a Me Too movement and women empowerment. So sexual assault, sexual abuse is very prominent. Give us your thoughts on, should you move forward? How should you navigate that in those situations where there's a discrepancy between the yes and the no?
Definitely a no. It's definitely no. When she says no more, I don't want to do this no more, whatever the language she used, that means stop. First of all, you have to understand, if you care about the woman, you should understand that at that point she feels uncomfortable. She's entered into something that she thought she was ready for, but for some reason she's not feeling it. So then that way, but what happens is she becomes uncomfortable in the process of going into that act or getting further into that act of intercourse. So a stop means stop. Because and then the other thing is, as Deacon Dan already alluded to, if you don't stop, you setting yourself up for sexual assault or rape. And it's, I mean, because that's what it is at that point. Once they say no, that's it. Leave it alone, and maybe you'll live to see another day down the line. Maybe you'll get to marry her and see another day down the line where it go the way you want it to go. But if you do that, you're at that point, you're forcing her to do something she don't want to do. So yes, you are definitely you out of order, and if you get caught, that's gonna be what it is, because she gonna scream rape if you go further and she didn't want to, and then her parents find out or something like that. That's what's gonna happen. So yeah, once she say stop, because it's uncomfortable. She don't like it. She don't want to go no further. So that's my take.
Okay. And last but not least, we have Mr. U.
Mhm.
In this time and age, this day and age, what is your views on how do we, travel along the gray lines of should we push forward or should we not?
Oh man, like I agree with these other two gentlemen, man. It's definitely a no, man. We talked about this earlier. You know, when you're not conscious of the what you're in. I know sometimes you're in the moment, but it's just, if you're not consciously aware, so you can end yourself up in a real situation, and it's a really big problem, and it's hard to get out of, right? So you don't want that, man. Rape, sexual assault, that's one of those things that go on your record, man, and you don't want them problems. You know, just being like, go back to self-awareness, just being able to dial back, right? Even when you're in that highlight of a moment and you're really heated, and she just, she gets in this state of mind where she becomes uncomfortable, or she switches her mind up and she don't want to do it. You just got to man up, bro, and just let it go. You know what I'm saying? There's some other options out here, but I mean, I can't really express enough how you really don't want to get yourself buried in a situation like that, because that rabbit hole right there goes really deep. And like Derek said, he named some A-lister names, earlier in opening up to this question. And those guys are like, they had the money, they had the clout, they had the attorneys, they had all of these things in place to try to, prevent them from being prosecuted. But those situations, man, people not playing about that. You got these young girls and you got these women, they got power now, man. Like somebody said earlier, these girls getting degrees and they independent now, and they got a voice, you know what I'm saying? And they being heard, right? So, they yell at them, they yell at that one R word, you know what I'm saying? Them laws coming, right? And they not patting you on the wrist, they not slapping you on the wrist. You really gonna get some major trouble. So yeah, man, like all of my guys are the young and old. So I know some of us are probably more experienced in the sexual world with, a lot of us are married, and a lot of us, we've been in, relationships where that's not a problem for us. But it is like some guys that might not be so exposed to, what I'm saying, like, sexual partners or getting it as often as other men or whatever. So, say it's in front of them, and they so intense with the opportunity, and sometimes they just react out of control. But man, I'm telling you, you just don't want them problems, bro. It's so hard to get yourself out of that. So, just stay strong, young kings, stay strong, fellas, and the older generation, continue to pour into these guys, man. Continue to make these guys conscious of the decisions they make, and getting them to understand, like, you can make a decision just that fast and it mess up the rest of your life, right? So, I applaud and I take my hat off to the efforts and the things that you guys are doing to bring awareness to the younger and the older, right? Because we do need each other. So,
Yeah, that was definitely some powerful information that all three of you guys shared. And we're coming to the end. We had a very powerful conversation. We touched on some very touchy topics, but I feel like we all stepped up to the plate and brought some information that can be impactful. And that's the most important thing. So as we get ready to close out, I need each and every one of y'all to give us your just a broad summary, a broad overview of your idea of one inappropriate behavior. But matter of fact, let's change it. Let's get it to some appropriate behavior. How should a man carry himself? Let's get away from the negative and let's get towards the positive. How should a man carry himself in today's time in order to build his best life and be an example to others and really just step up to the plate and be the man that he should be? Mr. U, I see you raising your hand, so I'll
Yeah,
let you start this one
yeah,
off.
Derek, I love that question, bro. And I love the
Start
fact
this one
that
off. You raising your hand. Go
yes,
ahead.
I love the fact that we're ending it on a positive note. This interview has been very intense. These questions has been very powerful, but being able to end it on a positive note is so powerful. And I'm gonna tell you guys real quick something that really has helped me. And I'm a man that wears many hats, has many responsibilities, and the thing that's really helped me is this remaining grounded, staying connected to the source, right? We do a lot of things day to day, right? We're fathers, we're public figures, we're preachers, we're mentors, we're all of these things. So, and I tell people, all the time because they see the success, right? Sometimes they don't know your story or they don't know how you're achieving such amazing feats. And for me, it is staying grounded. It's constantly building my relationship with God, constantly meditating, praying, and fasting, and just remembering. Sometimes just remembering how far I've come, and and what my mission is. Right. That's really what helps me move with intention. It helps me. It helps me with my self awareness. It helps me on understanding what to say no to and what to pursue and what not to pursue. You know what I'm saying? And just constantly yearning to be around like-minded people, right? People that's doing things that I'm trying to achieve in my life. So I don't get off track or I don't get deterred or I don't find myself in a situation that lands me in trouble. So just staying grounded, man, stand like raising my self-awareness and just realizing that I don't have to look outside for anything that I'm trying to manifest. Understanding that there is a God within me, right? God is in me. So it's like anything that I'm looking to achieve or anything I'm looking to success, I have to understand that first I have to become a mirror of that, right? I have to become that within, right? I have to manifest that from within outward, not outward within, right? And I think a lot of times growing up, we was taught to look outward for the things that we desired the most. But I've come to find out, like, no, those that God is within you, right? And raising your conscious awareness is really how we're bringing heaven to earth, So yeah, just staying grounded, bro. And I'm excited to be on this journey, my spiritual journey, and with God and learning um, a lot of new things that I feel like we was not taught growing up by the system or whatever. But yeah, I love it. I love spending my time in solitude. I love my time spending my alone time with God and just hearing His whispers, hearing His voice, and giving me direction on the steps that I should take. And I love it. I love my relationship with the Lord. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I just pray that 2025 is going to be an amazing year for you, gentlemen. I'm projecting amazing year with some projects and things that I'm working on. My relationship with God is so amazing. So I just encourage everybody to build your relationship, your personal relationship with the Savior, and you'll hear His whispers. You'll hear His direction for sure, because He made His promises and He stand on it, and I'm a witness of that. So you guys spend some time in solitude. Turn those phones off, turn those TVs off. Sometimes sometimes it is like tune that family out so you can do your inner work, so you can do your inner healing as well. So it's really important. So I just wanted to leave with that.
For sure, for sure. What I heard is keeping God as a source.
Absolutely.
Okay, Deacon Dan, what
Oh,
what is your whole take? What is your lasting impression that you want to leave with the individuals on how a man should appropriately behave in today's time.
You know what, Mr. You put some on me. And I'm on the initial. What that band we used to wear? WWJD.
Mm-hmm.
What would Jesus do?
Huh? So, Mr. You put it right there. You said a whole lot. What would Jesus do? I look at it like this in here. If you want to be credible and you want to do well in your life and you think about something, just think about that little bracelet. What would Jesus do? If I'm standing there, and you know what, I look at this handyman service I got.
Come on, Deacon. Come on with it now. Come on.
I looked at it. I went to the lady house, the other lady house, and the only thing she said, her agitator on her faucet wasn't working right. So I went there. I tried to change it out, but I said, "You probably gonna change the faucet out." She said, "Well, can you just leave it off?" I said, "Yeah, I can. It'll work fine." And she said, "What I owe you?" I said, "You know what? Just a thank you." And she said, "You know what?" And she then all of them know I'm Deacon. Dick Smith, can I give you a hug and kiss you on your jaw? I said, "Yes, love, you can do that." You know, and that's, you know, these younger and older ladies, you know, they just look at me, they say, "You know what? God sent you here to help me." And, you know, that's really makes me feel good. So that's saying, hey, I'm there building my best life. Just doing what would Jesus do? I'm gonna leave it right there.
Preach, Pastor. Preach. Hey, you better be careful about what you're saying on this podcast. You know your wife watches. And Dr. Levitt coming up the rear and closing us out. What is your perspective of the appropriate behaviors of what a man should do and carry himself in today's time?
Man, that was two tough acts to follow. But I'll tell you this, and I'll just add to it. But one of the things I say, as a man, we always been taught, keep your word. Your word is your bond. When we grew up with that statement, your word is your bond. And I never really knew what that meant until I was knee deep in the army and overseas somewhere, you know, making sure my life was safe. So you really understand that your word is your bond. If you give your word that you're going to do something, do what you say you're going to do. You tell your son you come in his game, go to his game. You tell your son you come in his track meet, his football game, whatever it is, or your daughter going and she doing gymnastics, whatever, volleyball. If you do, say, keep your word. If you keep your word, a lot of time as a man, your children will look up to you. They'll look up to you and know that you kept your word. It also gives them that example. And that leads to my next thing is that, you know, as men, we got to always know that the boys, the younger men and boys, they're watching us. They're watching what we do. They're watching what we say. So if we want to make better men out of younger boys and younger men, if we want to make better men moving forward, we have to make sure that we exhibit a godly example for them. We have to always keep a godly example on display. I think Mr. You said it earlier, you know, it's all about that power of God in us. Let them see your power of God in you and tell them about that power. Tell them about that power and how, no, this is what it is. It's the power of God that worked through me that has allowed me and afforded me the opportunities I have. Because if I would have stayed on the track I was on, I would have been, you know, I would have been dead. But it was because the power of God and me listening, me and doing his will, what he wants me to do. And every time if we walk in that path, if we walk in that godly path, young men will follow that godly path. They will follow that because one thing they will see is that I know out there's drugs and all this stuff that can seem like easy money, quick money, and all of that. But you know what? The godly way, it may not be quick. It may not be easy, but I promise you it'll be worth it. You know, all you got to do is stay hanging there and keep following that path. And in the end, you always, when you look at these three men, all four of these men on this, we are witnesses. We living witnesses. We walking examples of what we can do in life when we put God in it. versus when we try to do it on in our own strength. That's
sure.
all I have to say.
For sure.
And I've enjoyed our conversation today and enjoyed Mr. Yu. Thanks, man. You brought a good perspective to the group today. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. I love you guys, and like I said, I take my hat off to all of the efforts that you guys are doing. And again, it does take community, right? You guys have poured into me today. I'm walking away feeling empowered to have a great Saturday. This started my day off really good, and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to God that you guys are. You guys have breath in your body, and I pray that God continue to lift you guys higher and continue to just reveal what your purpose is, and continue just to connect with other guys like myself and Derek. We need you guys. We need you guys to continue to lift us up and support us and push us forward, right? Because we are here doing the work. We are here on the ground doing the work. So we appreciate you guys for just continuing to believe it in us and supporting us and pouring those words of wisdom into us. Because like Derek, I know he appreciated it. I appreciate it. And I really hope this is not my last time visiting you guys on this platform. So, definitely keep me in mind, keep me in your prayers, and I'll do the same.
Yes. And guys, I cannot close it out without giving a big shout out to Deborah D. Smith and what she does in the community. Make sure you get her book, Build Your Best Life. And it's definitely a manual on how to do just that. Build your best life. So with that, man, we have had a great time. We've been kicking it for an hour, and as they say, when you're having fun, time flies, and it really did. And not only are we having fun, but we have an impact also. So with that, to all the people who are watching, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. You could have been anywhere, but you're sharing it here with us. And hopefully we added value to y'all. And with that, the last one for 2024, and we all out.
All right. All right, where Mr. You go?
He probably clicked off.
Yeah, man, that was good. That was
awesome.
Yeah, there was some touchy topics, so you kind of gotta be diplomatically correct, but at the same time bring
Hey, it still say it's going live. Is it still going live?